Should be up and running now.
Yeah, we're up and going, man. Right on. Thank you, Acie, for taking some time here to join the Toddcast in Vancouver, Canada.
Okay.
So standing at 6'10", 240. Now that was your days playing for the NBA. Do you walk around that weight today?
Uh, no, I'm 6'11". I actually grew in college. That was my weight leaving college, or somewhere around there, or
Okay.
something like that. So I'm 6'11", probably 350, 360 now.
No
So
kidding.
yeah.
Wow, dude. What are your food bills like?
Oh, I tried to eat a lot. It was more when I retired and I didn't. I just wanted to eat everything and partake in everything, things that I did not when I was eat when I was playing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Well, I
yeah,
think
so
everybody kind of wants to eat whatever they want to eat,
right,
you know?
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So what would you say is your first basketball memory?
a few. In third grade, you had to do a paper of what you wanted to be. And I had either my dad had told me, or I read in the newspaper Michael Jackson, or not Michael Jackson, Michael Magic Johnson, um, had signed a $25 million, 25-year lifetime contract with the Lakers. That's like the first major deal signed. Jerry Buss signed Magic. And I was like, wow, 25 years, 25 million. Like, wow. So I would say that. I would say watching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was my favorite player. Throwing the sky hook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? Watching like Dr. J go underneath the hoop on Kareem to do that move. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a series, but I was a basketball follower from day one. So it wasn't like my dad would watch it. He told me stories about Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robertson and Pistol Pete and Maravich, and the great Celtic days, Bill Russell and Tiny Archibald. And so like I was a historian of the game way before. And then I had a best friend in grade school, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, who collected cards.
Mm.
And back then, they weren't popular. They would throw all these cards in a pack. You would have football, basketball, hockey. And he hated basketball. So he gave me all his basketball cards. So I would collect all the basketball cards. So that was my thing. So I would read and study them and ask my dad. So I knew about the game at a very young age, and
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was just one day I picked up the ball. Like I had a kind of a plan and a synergy to it where it was my sport. That's all I played really. I played a little bit of flag football
Mm.
in sixth grade, fifth and sixth grade. I played baseball early, but I was scared of the ball, so I didn't want to play baseball. So it was basketball for me. It was like that was my thing.
And how old were you when you started hooping?
Third grade.
Third grade. Okay. And so like, how long did it take for you to realize like, man, maybe I could go all the way here?
It wasn't like I tell people, it was ebbs and flows. It was ups and downs, right? So like third grade, I was probably the second best player on my team. Fourth grade, best player. Fifth and sixth grade, we had moved, and there was another good player on the team, really good athlete. So I was probably second best player. Seventh grade, I was one of the best players in the city. Eighth grade, I was not. So it was all also based on hitting puberty. And, I was always a tall, skinny kid. So
Mhm.
I was, I couldn't run and jump like some of the best studs, sixth and seventh and eighth graders. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
those guys could run and jump. And then obviously they hit puberty too early. So by ninth, 10th grade, they were done. They were done. So like in 8th grade, I played on a really good AAU team. We went to Las Vegas. I was a ninth man. But as I started to get better in the summer, I worked harder than them. They were like better. They were better athletes. And so then like 9th grade, I didn't play varsity or sophomore. Like I think I played 1 or 2 games of sophomore in 9th grade. Sophomore, I didn't play varsity till the end of my sophomore year. So it was ebbs and flows. Like even when I went to college, I redshirted my first year, so I was like this stud player, So it was just ebbs and flows where it went, couple years here, couple years here, couple years here, couple years here, it just kept,
Mhm.
rising. So
Yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
totally
And
different than a lot of people.
yeah, like, and we know, of course, from what we see on TV and stuff, what it's like to play for the NBA here in North America. But so you played, what was it, 4 seasons? I think I read.
Yeah,
So
4 years, 2 with the Boston Celtics, a year and a half with Toronto, and half a
Toronto,
year with
that's right, yeah.
Milwaukee.
And then you played a bunch
Mhm.
of seasons over in Europe. Like, what was the difference
Yeah.
of playing over there compared to here in North America in the NBA?
Tons because of the level. Like I played 12 years, 8 countries. So like, now most of the Eastern Bloc countries are the same. Uh, um, like, Poland, Russia, like that style of play, Serbia, Montenegro, like that style of play is pretty much the same. You know, Western style of play in France and Germany and Turkey to a point a little bit. Excuse me, was different. Australia's different than China. You know, so it's like tons of differences. Of the play. So each country was different, but
Hmm.
I had more success in the Eastern Bloc countries because I contribute to a couple of things. One, I had a high basketball IQ. I always had a high basketball IQ. When I play in those countries, you play with a lot of former Yugo play, Croatian, Serbian, Montenegro, Bosnia, Slovenia. So they have a high basketball IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2, I played my rookie year with Dino Raja, or 2 years with Dino Raja. And so Dino was, probably the premier between him and Petrovic and Tony Kukoc and Vladi. Those are probably the 4 premier European players at the time. And I played for his coach in France. And Dino gave me a good recommendation. Actually, the first day of practice, they called each other on the cell phone, and Dino gave me a recommendation. So then about every year, I played with a guy who Dino knew or played with. So it was always like, yeah, that guy's a good guy. That guy works hard. That guy shares the ball. That guy's not going to dog it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was, as I look back, that was a great, point where, Dino really set me up for success in some of those countries.
Yeah. And when you do look back and think about the draft and being drafted in 93, it was the same year, went 19th, which is impressive, top 20. Same year as Chris Webber, same year as Penny Hardaway.
Mhm.
Like, what still stands out from that draft day for you?
Well, one, I slipped a little bit. I was projected to go lottery, and that was about that year and a year before is the year where the NBA was really starting to go young. Like it wasn't the 4 or 5 year player anymore. It was the first or second year player where um, we're going to draft early because they may have a high ceiling, and we can get them for longer at a cheaper price because we're starting early. So um, So yeah, it's kind of like the whole fourth for 5 or 6 top picks were all underclassmen who came out early.
Hmm.
So I was I got a little nervous for a while, but
Kidding, right?
yeah, but it was to be amongst all those guys, to be in that same draft class, C. Webb, Penny Hardaway, Rodney Rogers, J.R. Ryder, Allen Houston, Vin Baker, Lindsey Hunter. Yeah, it's like, wow, like, and a lot of us knew each other from playing in college, some a little bit in high school. So,
Mhm.
like, for all us to be in this, one room or one weekend together is like surreal.
Yeah. And what was the feeling when you got moved over to Toronto? Toronto starting up their team. One of the original
Yeah, I
guys
talk about it. It
on
was
the team.
nobody knew kind of what was going on. It was like, okay, the NBA went to the expansion with the two teams, Vancouver and Toronto, and then every NBA team could only protect 8 guys. So it was kind of like this talk between March and June of who's getting protected. And there was a lot of weird movement and trades, and people didn't want to be protected. Some people wanted to be protected.
Mm,
Then it's like where people wanted to go. Nobody knew what was going to go on because of the getting paid in Canadian dollars. Were we going to get paid in Canadian dollars? Were we going to pay in US dollars? Like, do we got to get a passport? Do we just like the unsureness and the unknown was very, I wouldn't say it was scary because everybody was kind of in the same boat. Like the guys who didn't get protected were like, hey, like this is like your next chance to make it. So like a lot of us had a chip on our shoulder. We're like, okay, we got to show now this next team in the NBA we can play, right? So everybody was willing to take that. A lot of guys were willing to take that risk. The guys who didn't were some of the older veterans who didn't want to, go through that.
right.
Like BJ, a friend of mine from Iowa, BJ Armstrong. I was excited to go there because he was going to go there. And then, I heard all this. Like he didn't want to go. He was older in his career. He wanted to win championships. He got spoiled with the Bulls, So he was like, I'm not signing up for, for expansion to lose, 80, 60 games a year,
Right. That ain't no fun. And so like we know now that Toronto's a pretty big and it's a great basketball city, but how was it like right out of the
But we
gate?
did have fun. No, we did have fun. It
Y-
was fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Toronto is a good basketball city, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, and we made it that way. The two major things was us, and I think the year or two before the World Championship games were there with the second or the third Dream Team with Shaq and
Oh, yeah.
some of those
Yeah.
guys, Sean Kemp, maybe Alonzo Mourning, Gary Payton. Some of those guys were on there, and that kind of brought, not only the American, but it also brought like Croatia and some of the other good players, and such Toronto was so diverse, like they were ready and willing to see that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Toronto is definitely a basketball city,
Yeah.
and it was very unique that we turned it from baseball and hockey to, and it's still a hockey city for
Oh,
sure,
it's a huge, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
huge hockey city. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, certainly is a basketball city for
But we
sure.
definitely carved out our niche,
Yeah.
right?
And where were you when they won the whole thing in 19? Can you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was in Iowa City. I mean, I still live in Iowa City area and do camps and training, and
Yeah.
so I was excited. I mean, I was hoping they were going to do it. I mean, I was sad to see DeMar go, but I was excited because I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the
but
bar that I was in
the
here in Vancouver just absolutely erupted. It was pandemonium. People were freaking out. Like it was pretty
yeah,
awesome.
it
Pretty
was
special.
overdue, right?
Yeah.
we paid our dues. The country and the city paid the dues for that to happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, are
All
you
right.
are you on another call here pretty quick, or do I have you for a few, or
No, 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 no. You're good.
we're good? Okay. So of course, Acie, you've also coached the game as well, jumped into the ABA, right? back in 2005. Managed the
Yeah, I coached
Tijuana.
at multiple levels. Yeah, I coached at multiple levels when I was playing overseas. You know, as I got older, I used to kind of come home and see my buddies coaching. I had a lot of guys who I played with and against who start coaching.
Right.
And, you know, we would talk basketball because I would tell them how things went. And they'd be like, man, like, you understand basketball like a coach. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, man, like you can get into coaching. So that was my thing. Like, I remember one night I was in Kosovo and our lights went out and I didn't have my generators hooked up. They didn't hook it up yet. And I just sat in the cold and the dark. It goes out for like an hour or two because everybody comes home at the same time. The power grid was not up to par at the time. So I just sat in my living room for like an hour or two, just staring in the darkness. And I said the next day I'm going to the internet cafe and I'm working on my resume and I'm going to start emailing coaches and stuff. And I just started doing that, you know, leg work.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year I tore my Achilles. And, you know, and I always said if I got a major injury, I would be done. Like I'll fight back to come back, you know, for my health, but I'm not going to play anymore. So I tore my Achilles the next fall coming in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I started like emailing people and I went to like, you know, I went to the ABA first and then I did some CBA, did some consulting for some other minor leagues, GBA, then got with high school. And I've done AAU. Came back to high school and junior high. So, I mean, I just love coaching. I'm coaching high school now, ninth grade
Oh, that's
B,
cool.
and I did seventh grade fall. So,
Right. And so like did basketball change I don't know how to word this, but like did you change the way you approach the game from a coach's perspective as
oh,
opposed to
100%. I've
instead of
changed probably 4 or 5 times over.
oh
So, I
shit,
mean,
okay.
I grew up in the era where, you know, games were 40 to 50 or 40 to 30. And everybody played conventionally. You know what I mean? Conventionally is like you play with a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, a power forward, and big guy.
Yeah.
There's been times when I don't play with a big guy. The big guy couldn't be a big guy. Um, Sometimes you put the best 5 people on the floor. And then when I was overseas, though, I understood how they started to play with the pace and space. Um, and so, like, even when I came home, and my daughter was playing and we started coaching her, like, I taught her to shoot the three at like 6th grade. And people were like, why are you doing that? And I go, watch, like, this is how it's going to be. Like, the 3-point shot is going to be the game changer. And so, like, when I first started, you know, coaching youth, it's like that's all we did is we shot and we handled the ball. And we got everybody to handle the ball and be ambidextrous. And we got everybody to learn how to shoot a three. And you know, you would be amazed at how many players that were able to shoot the three that got their career going and went to college because of that. And so even today, like I'm 2-0 on my ninth grade B. The first game we scored 80 points. The second game we scored 79 points. And we're playing 8-minute quarters, 7-minute quarters.
Hmm.
So we're scoring 20 points a quarter roughly in
Yeah.
7 8-minute quarters.
And
Yeah.
talk about like the having the real deal for these kids as well, right? Like beyond the coaching stuff and like you do the regional
Yeah,
camp.
I mean, they don't see it as much. Like sometimes, like because you know the players, unless you're talking about MJ, which is also like nobody's seen MJ play. They hadn't seen him. All they see is the highlights. So you can talk about Kobe and stuff. So sometimes I have to give them examples of something that they can watch themselves, like Kevin Durant or LeBron or Dame Lillard or Giannis or Jokovic or Luka Doncic. I have to give them something that they can go watch. I can't, like, for me to tell somebody like, hey, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in one game. And they're like, okay. like that's not realistic to them
Sure.
too much, right? Now, to me, it was because I saw Will, right? But nobody saw Will. So I have to be careful what I give them. You know, sometimes I have to give them things that I did. So one time they asked me, like, what was my career high? And I said, well, grade school in sixth grade, I scored 50 points with no 3-point line. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And so, like, sometimes you have to give them something that's more realistic for them to take. You can't talk too much over them. You know, like you can't mention like Bob Knight to them. They have no idea who Bob Knight is, right? They have no idea who um, maybe Coach K is, or even Roy Williams or something. You know what I mean? So you got to go to like Bill Self, or you got to go to Shaka Smart. Like you got to go to somebody that they can look at and see and turn on the game one day and say, "Oh wow, yeah, coach, I saw Shaka Smart, coach." You know,
Right. Right. Yeah. What a trip. Hey, tell us about the 13 Rules single and the movement. Your publicist, Sasha, sent along the song. Sounds great. So talk about that a little bit.
yeah. So we were in Toronto for our OG reunion that the great Elaine Kwan, our PR lady from back in Toronto, organized. There had been some clamoring of put together something major for all the guys who played. Because every now and then they were doing stuff independently with like maybe Marcus Camby or maybe Damon Stoudemire, but everybody was like, where's everybody else at? So she put together this big reunion. A lot of us hadn't seen each other for 10, 15, 20 years. I hadn't been back to Toronto in 30 years.
Mm.
So we go there. Elaine has all these media interviews for us to do. And then she says, by the way, there's this guy doing a song. He needs you guys to come and do a chorus. So we're like, you know, we're dead tired. We've been staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, like hanging out. Um, and we were like ready to go back and just chill for the day. And so I was like, okay. She was like, just 30 minutes tops. So we kind of got there. The music's going. There's a good vibe. We're all kind of joking around. We've been doing all these interviews all morning. So, you know, beat's okay. And then, like, they're putting it together, but there really isn't a main person taking charge of kind of what they want to do. So there's a lot of leeway. So, you know, we do it like this, then we do like this. We do it like we're supposed to just do the chorus. So I kind of just start ad-libbing some stuff, and the guys kind of fed off me. And then they're like, yeah, that's cool. Do that again. Just do this. Off that way. Like nobody told us like, hey, this is what they're trying to do. This is what the, you know, Dr. Nate Smith were trying, you know, there was no, um, there was nothing that was kind of like a plan, I think, you know. I think they just kind of hodgepodge it together, see how it was going to go. It went better than what expected, and now we're here, right? So,
Mm. That's
yeah, I'm
cool.
happy to be a part of it. It's a hot song. It's got a lot of good elements.
Yeah, it definitely does. And actually spins it, dovetails nice into you wrote a book, 135 of the most influential hip hop and rap songs of all time and why.
Yeah, I actually wrote 16 books, actually.
Well, yeah, you wrote books, but you
Yeah, well,
recently released this book. How hard was it to get to number one, like let alone top 10?
no. So what? This is different. So we did not rank them.
Mm,
So we did not rank the
okay, so it's a
artists,
little bit
nor did
easier, but
we.
still hard though.
Well, I mean, you could rattle off 10 or 15 in 15 seconds,
Sure.
right? And that's what we did. Like me and my buddy Hans, my ex roommate, who introduced me to hip hop, you know, New York gritty hip hop for a while. You know, I'm from the Midwest. So a lot of that New York stuff I wasn't into, especially when I went to Boston. When I went to Boston, I got into it more because New York, right?
Sure.
And then Toronto has, influence in New York. So like my East Coast stay really got me into more hip hop. So like, yeah, like I said, so when we did the book, it's not a ranking nor the best song. It's the most influential hip hop and rap songs of all time. So it's not just females or males or groups or artists or genres or eras. It's just everything hodgepodge. So it's like I said, we wanted to kind of hit everybody who had an influence, right? Not just like the popular stuff. So we got some names in here people would have not known. I actually have 2 overseas artists.
Oh, great. So
Here.
there's going to have to be a little bit of Google searching.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all on YouTube Music, so
Yeah, of course.
that's
Yeah, of
that's the
course.
beauty of it. Yeah.
And was there ever a time where you thought like, "Oh man, I've bitten off more than I can chew to write this," or
Well, no, because like whenever I did, I called Hans and we would have to sit down and I'd say, hey, I got these 4 people or 4 songs. Am I on point with this? And he'd be like, yay or nay. And so like I got the first 7,500, and then I called some other people too. Well, one person from the West Coast, another Midwest artist. Actually, me and Jimmy King collaborated on a couple things as well. He's a big hip hop guy. So it's like I had enough people in my camp I can get enough feedback from.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? The
yeah,
issue is I had to make sure that the research part was right, like why we chose that person and why that was true. You see what I'm saying? And some of that stuff I didn't know.
yeah.
Like a great example is I don't know if you ever heard of Atmosphere. He's from Minneapolis.
No.
Um, he had another guy who came out with him called Brother Ali, but I forgot what their group was called. But it was like 8 or 9 of them, and they were signed to Raucous Records, which is a popular New York record label. And so I knew Atmosphere and Brother Ali should be on there, but I did not know their best songs. And Hans actually turned me on to them. So I had to go back to Hans, like, okay, if we had to pick Atmosphere and Brother Ali, what song and why?
Oh, okay.
You know. And so yeah, so some of the other stuff was pretty simple, like, Public Enemy or
Sure, the obvious ones. Yeah.
yeah, like that's pretty much. Now you
NWA.
can go a few different ways,
Sure.
on
So would you
that.
say
But yeah,
like the research then was the hardest stuff about writing that book then?
yeah, I would say
Yeah.
from 70 from 100 to 135. Yes.
Yeah.
The other part I know like the back of my hand. Like I grew up in that era. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to be a rapper probably first, like as a basketball player. Like, I grew up on the Run DMC LL.
Yeah.
Like in those days, you came to school like rappers and singers. You didn't come to school. Nobody ever saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar walk into a gym like they do now, right? Or Kelsey Plum, or Candace Parker, or Brittany Griner, or Dame Lillard, or people now. The camera goes to them as they walk in, so you see what they wear.
Sure.
Like with the rap game and music game, you saw posters, you saw them at shows, like you saw them on award shows, like. Everybody wanted Adidas shoes because Run DMC wore it. So that's what you wore to school. Like, you didn't really wear Dr. J's top 10. You could, but that really wasn't the thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was like you learn to dress in the culture, like, Adidas suits. You had Adidas sweatsuits because that's what Run DMC wore, right? And that's what LL wore. So yeah, it was different culture, but that's who we dressed and emulated, right?
And so having done all these books, like, is that something we can kind of just expect out of you for, down the road, that there's going to be more writing?
Yeah, it's kind of my thing. That's kind of my I sit and watch, sports on TV and I just peck away at my computer. So this year I've written 4 books this year, which is a personal record for me.
Wow.
So I'm probably cranking out a book every month, or every 2 or 3 months. I'm cranking out a book.
Wow.
So I just finished a book me and my brother talked about doing is Coach Earl's Rules of Basketball. And the reason why I did this is because we had so many kids we're coaching at the youth level that don't know the rules. So I had ninth grade, like I said, I have ninth grade B, and and we press a lot, and I, and so one of the kids asked me, "Well, Coach Earl, how long can we press in the backcourt for, or how does this work?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we want to press because then we can get a count." And they were like, "Count? What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, a count. There's so many seconds that you can bring the ball up to the half court before it's a violation." Now I had 16 kids. I asked all the 16 kids, how many seconds do we have before it's a turnover or violation? There was 4 or 5 answers, and all of them were wrong. In ninth grade.
Hmm.
Like nobody knew that you only had 10 seconds to get the ball up
Hmm.
at high school level. So this is the books that I wrote for kids, parents, wannabe coaches, family members. And also what we're seeing is I think the ESL, English Second Language kids also struggle with how we talk and how we talk the game, right? And the words we use. So like a great example is like even when I was overseas, like they would they would say something in their language, but when it came to basketball, they would leave most of the words the same because words are different for us and them. So for instance, if I tell, we have a couple African kids that speak different languages. If I say, "Hey, float up high," like when they equate word float and high, it doesn't mean go to the top of the court, or I go to the top, or go to the elbow, or go to the baseline, go to the wing. Like, you know what I mean? Go to the arc, get in the paint, stay out of the lane. Like those things don't mean, it means the different things to them. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, and my Basketball's Main Ingredients terminology book. It's the terminology, right? So when we're talking to the kids can understand what I'm saying. Because when I say get to the baseline, that doesn't mean anything to them. They're looking at base and then they're looking at line, and they're not equating the two, right?
Hmm. Interesting, man. Good for
So,
you. That's impressive, the amount of writing you're doing. Wow.
yeah, it's kind of my thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, AC, I'm gonna respect your time here, man. I'll wrap it up with
Yeah.
one final question. And I think it might be the toughest, maybe not. Can you nail it down to one career highlight?
No, no.
Yeah.
I have to give it to you in a group of 4 or 5. So the first one is probably my 50-point game in 6th grade. Our best player, our second best player, first best player, he went to skiing in 6th grade, and so he missed the game. We were undefeated. We hadn't lost in 2 years. So, um, so I had to score 50 for us to win, right? Uh, I'd say in high school, leading my team to our best high school record of all time at the time, we were 24 and 4, 23 and 4. It was the best record in Moline history at all time. My senior year. In college, I would say my sophomore year, we beat UCLA with another former NBA. Well, they had 5 or 6 NBA guys, but one of my best friends in Toronto, ex-Toronto Raptor, Tracy Murray, was there. So we beat them. They were ranked like number 2 in the nation. We beat them my sophomore year. And then in the NBA, I would say, the 40-point game against Boston, right? Yeah. And then overseas, I would say, shoot, I don't know. I won 3 MVPs and 8 years in 3 different countries. So
Yeah.
I mean, I had run. So I would say, every era, every time has its own deal. Yeah. My first college 2 points was an alley-oop dunk, and my first NBA 2 points was an alley-oop dunk.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Hey, thank you again for taking some time.
Yeah, I'm curious on the 135 rules book. What artist would you curious about, or agreed or disagreed with me on?
Well, I think I would probably put. I would think that Run DMC's got to be at the top.
Yeah, they're in there. Now, Now, what song would you pick from them?
From Run?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a tough one. Where do you put Beastie Boys?
Yeah, I have them, but I have them with I think I put Paul Revere.
Yeah.
But you could have went No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Sure.
And you could go a little bit of the I almost picked the one where they were in the suits when they were fighting Godzilla.
Oh, Intergalactic.
Yeah, Intergalactic. I almost picked that too.
Great song. And of course the for those guys, Sabotage. Such a great video.
Yeah. So I mean, a couple groups could have a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could go like with Run DMC, you can go My Adidas, or you can go the one with Stevie Nicks. It's Like That. No, not It's Like That, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Walk This Way. Yeah, Walk This Way.
With Aerosmith.
Yeah, Aerosmith. Yeah, Walk
Yeah.
This Way. You could go Walk This Way. I mean,
sure. I mean, that song almost revived Aerosmith's carerer back in the day.
Exactly.
At least that video was huge.
And it also almost went and almost in it, and it's so a lot of those groups were timeless, where it's just they did 3 or 4 things, not just one. Like with the My Adidas, it brought actual clothing company to the forefront, accepted by him.
Right. Yeah, man.
And then they got Adidas deal out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. They straight up, like, those are one of the most influential guys in all of, not just rap, but all of music.
Yeah. So it's unique. So
yeah,
that's good, man. Well, I appreciate the time.
Right on. I appreciate your time. So on Instagram, you are at phenom_Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a website you want people to go to check out as well, or?
To my Venom website, my Venom Sports Training, as a V, like in Snake Venom.
Yep.
And that you can order books, signed copies. I send them to you.
Oh, nice.
Have merchandise there. Camps and training packages. So it's kind of my all-encompassing site. So yeah.
Right on, dude. Okay, well, cheers, man. It's nice to meet you, and I guess we'll see you online, and I'll tag you when we're throwing this stuff around.
Yeah, sounds good.